till the midnight sky, burning high. Under blazing skies, we won't fall. In the electric neon night, we stand tall.
Blue flag, blue flag.
Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars since 2010, so you don't have to, in the very often desperate hunt for points, using the Codemasters series of games from 2010 to the present day, whenever that may be. And you join us at round 2 of 2014, the second round of the new turbo hybrid era in Formula 1, driving the Caterham CT05, and it's Malaysia, a circuit that I think a lot of us want to see back on the calendar, and a circuit that has actually proven to be alright for us so far in this series. But Australia really was a bit of a sign of things to come. We battled our way to a 17th place finish, could have been 16th, got caught up behind Lewis Hamilton, slamming his brakes on the apex while being lapped. We were 2 laps down by the end, miles off the back of the cars in front of us, and spending most of our time just holding back the Marussias and Kamui Kobayashi. A couple of retirements also benefited our finishing position, but it was quite the lonely experience at the back. But let's take a look at the standings, and then we'll talk a little bit about Malaysia and what we're hoping for here, I guess. As I say, we took 17th place. We finished just ahead of Chilton, Bianchi and Kobayashi. Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen both didn't manage to finish, so we're ahead of a Red Bull and a Ferrari after round 1, which is just nice to see. It won't last long, I'm sure. At the top end of things, as you'd expect, if you remember the 2014 Mercedes, it was a clear 1-2 for the Silver Arrows. Hamilton leading Rosberg. Daniel Ricciardo came home in third, and unlike the real world race, wasn't stripped of his third place, so takes a podium at home. K-Mag in the McLaren was fourth, ahead of Perez, Bottas, Button, Hulkenberg, Alonso and Massa in the Williams, rounding out the points. Kvyat, Maldonado, Verne, Sutil, Gutierrez and Grosjean all also missed out on points along with us in the aforementioned Marussias, Vettel, Raikkonen and Kobayashi. In the Constructors, Mercedes leading the way quite comfortably ahead of McLaren, who took a couple more points than Red Bull, who are just a point ahead of Force India. Williams up there in 5th, and Ferrari are 6th with just the 2 points. Toro Rosso, Lotus, Sauber ahead of us, but without points, and we are ahead of just Marussia, and we're 10th in the standings, which is where we finished in last season's car in the Marussia. So kind of sticking to form, I guess. But we are heading to Malaysia, a circuit with a lot of long straights, a circuit, like I said, I think a lot of people would really like to see back on the Formula 1 calendar. One that has proven in this series to be of benefit to us. That ridiculous third place in 2012 with HRT springs immediately to mind. Though Australia, as I say, a kind of lonely 17th in terms of cars ahead and just about holding off the cars behind with, I don't know, maybe just luck of how we were getting lapped. And we qualified last as well. It was not the greatest of starts in this green machine, the last of its lineage. There is no more Caterham at the end of 2014. So I feel like we've really got to get into this race and try and get stuck in, try and at least improve our qualifying performance. But it's going to be possibly a long, hard slog this season to even finish ahead of our nearest rivals, which is what we thought back with HRT, is what we thought last season. I mean, it was what we thought with Team Lotus the last time we were in this Norfolk-based outfit in 2011. And look at what happened with HRT. We took 2 podiums and a 9th place. Last season, obviously, 1 point. Not so good. So we should probably go to Kuala Lumpur, get some practice in at Sepang, and see if we actually have any hint of pace, let alone being able to close up to the guys in front. And we've got some R&D to do as well. So while we go and do that, we'll talk about the real world 2014 Malaysian Grand Prix. The second round of the 2014 season saw the teams of drivers return to Sepang for the Malaysian Grand Prix after Mercedes laid down an impressive marker for everybody else in Australia. The opening practice session was a fairly quiet affair. However, Lotus found themselves struggling once again, with both drivers suffering engine issues during the session, adding to the misery of Albert Park. At the top of things, Hamilton set the fastest time ahead of Raikkonen and Rosberg. The problems for Lotus continued into the second practice session, with Pastor Maldonado unable to set a lap time, while Grosjean's session was interrupted as well. Mercedes would once again lead the way, this time Rosberg, ahead of Raikkonen and Vettel, with Hamilton in fourth, though the top four were covered by just over a tenth of a second. Mercedes rivals wouldn't be as close in the final session though, Rosberg topping the times in the final practice ahead of Hamilton by just 0.2 of a second, though Raikkonen in third was over a second behind the lead Mercedes. After 3 hot and dry practice sessions, a deluge hit the track just prior to the start of qualifying, with the FIA delaying the start by 50 minutes before getting cars out on track. When it did start, all but McLaren used the intermediate tyres, with the Woking-based team using wets, a decision which proved to be a good one when more rain fell. The session started late and ended early after Marcus Ericsson crashed his Caterham, eliminating himself, along with his teammate, both Mauritius, Maldonado and Adrian Sutil. Q2 began in full wet conditions, another heavy shower lashing the track, though Ferrari elected to use inters. While Alonso was struggling around the track, the Toro Rosso of Kvyat attempted to pass him, locking his wheels and collecting the Ferrari, damaging the Spaniard's suspension. Despite the contact being fairly minimal, the session was red flagged, which gave Ferrari and Alonso the chance to get repaired. When it got going again, Valtteri Bottas attempted a run on the inters, which would be his undoing as he was eliminated with Kvyat, Gutierrez, Massa, Perez and Grosjean. Rain continued into the final session, many sticking to the full wets, though Button attempted a run on the inters, which was the wrong call when another rain shower hit the track mid-session. That meant the first runs were the ones that really counted, and it was Hamilton who took pole position, ahead of Vettel and Rosberg. The top 10 completed by Alonso, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Massa, Verne and Button. As the lights went out, Hamilton would get away cleanly, hoping that the Red Bull between him and Rosberg would be a benefit. Rosberg, however, got the better start and found himself alongside Vettel along the pit wall. The Red Bull left just enough space for Rosberg to get by, but he also opened the door to Ricciardo, who jumped his teammate. DR3 finding himself challenging Rosberg after the Mercedes nearly threw his car at the scenery through turns 2 and 3. Further back in the order, Jean-Eric Verne suffered a lack of power off the line, dropping down and battling with the Marussia drivers. Bianchi went round the outside of her, but clipped the Toro Rosso, picking up a puncture and careering into Maldonado. The Marussia driver would find himself being the first driver to pick up a 5-second penalty and penalty points on his licence, something brought in by the FIA for 2014. It wouldn't be long before another driver picked up the same set of penalties. Kevin Magnussen clipped the back of Kimi Raikkonen at the start of the second lap, giving the Ferrari a puncture, and while the Dane picked up damage to his front wing, he also received 5 seconds and penalty points on his licence. Hamilton would stretch away from his teammate, with the Red Bulls behind switching positions in a move that seemed to be orchestrated, Vettel moving into third. Further back down the order, the Williams pair were fighting, with Bottas being told to back off Massa, Massa being unhappy at the state of play between them. There was little action through the field, even during the pit stop phase, until Ricciardo's final stop saw the Australian be sent from his pit box before the front left wheel was attached properly, meaning he'd be pushed back and have the wheel fitted correctly. That cost him a lap before he ran over the curb at turn 14 and damaged his front wing. He'd eventually be issued a 10-second penalty and a 10-place grid penalty before retiring the car. It would be Lewis Hamilton who took a commanding victory ahead of Rosberg, with Vettel in 3rd place. Alonso would take advantage of Ricciardo's woes to take 4th ahead of Hülkenberg, Button, Massa, Bottas, Magnussen and Kvyat. After a pretty dismal qualifying in Australia, can we improve here in what is sort of the team's home race in Malaysia? Pace-wise, this car is some distance off, and we seemingly have nothing in qualifying, if Albert Park is anything to go by. The bar's going to be super low here, in the vain hope that we don't have to start last, because that would be 2 in a row if that happened. So we're going to aim for 21st place. Hopefully, though, we can pull a lap out of the bag when it counts, and with weather possibly going to get involved as well, we might be able to squeeze another position or 2 out of it.
We know it's going to be a struggle to get out of this session, but give it your best shot.
In the garage then for qualifying in Malaysia, team's home race essentially. And practice was held in intermediate conditions, which is what we're going to be getting in this session. We ended the session bottom, about half second off Kobayashi as well. I mean, we might improve in qualifying here. It's one of those things, you just want to try and get used to how the car's feeling in this version of the game, this version of the circuit, these conditions, that kind of thing. But as engineer Andy said there, it's going to be incredibly tough to get a Q1, and I fear that's going to be the same for this entire season. We might not see a Q2 until 2015, after going all the way through 13 without a Q2 appearance. But conditions like this could throw a cat amongst the pigeons. So let's get out there, try and get some laps on the board, see if we can spring a surprise and surprise.
You're a touch off the pace in sectors 1 and 2 and well down in sector 3.
Here then is that fastest lap in qualifying. You can see intermediate conditions as we head into the first couple of corners. A little wide off the apex, but we swing the car back in. But it's all about just waiting to get on the power, because that is the problem, not only in this car, but in these conditions. As we head out through turn 3, looking pretty tidy at the moment, actually, which I'm fairly happy about, though the pace really isn't there. 2 and a bit tenths down on our best, and nearly a second down on Kimi Raikkonen, who's topping the times at the moment. A little bit wide through 4, getting on the curbing. As we do the same through 5, and you can see the car trying to fight back. We have to lift quite heavily through 6, and again back out onto the curb. The double right-hander here cannot keep it pinned whatsoever. Really have to slow down. It's going to cost us a bunch of time doing so. And we clip the curb on the exit, which nearly spins us off into the scenery. But we get to the end of the second sector, up through that hairpin, using the elevation and the camber to just try and swing the car around. And we're just marginally up on our best time, but only 3 seconds off the guys at the front as we're beginning to slip down the order, as other drivers are putting lap times in. Again, just running a little bit wide here and there, which is costing us a little bit in terms of traction. Into the penultimate corner of the lap, somewhere I really struggle with anyway, but this, neat and tidy, fairly steady and sedate though, as we are now in the drop zone with Fernando Alonso, of all people, heading down to the hairpin at the end of the lap, desperately just trying to pull some time, any time back, to see if we can get anywhere close to just anybody else. Around the hairpin at the end of the lap, taking a while to get good power and traction down. We gun it for the line, and we improve. Is it going to be enough to stay off the back?
Stay out of their way. A disappointing day for us today. That's 22nd on the grid.
And for the second race running in 2014, we start last. 1.7 seconds off our teammate. Knocked out in Q1 with Kvyat, Chilton, Bianchi, Kobayashi and Gutierrez. We were never going to catch Hülkenberg, but quite disappointed to be so far off Kobayashi and last for the second race running. It really does look like it's going to be quite the slog, at least in qualifying this season. It was an intermediate session again in Q1. Scheduled rain as well, forecast rain for the race. Maybe we can have some shenanigans in a wet weather race that might help us out a little bit. But that is the end of our qualifying at the first hurdle once again. And as I said a little earlier, we might be looking at 2 full seasons of not getting out of Q1, which, well, would be quite painful. Hopefully, though, our race here at Kuala Lumpur can make up for it. Pre-race then at a soaking wet Sepang circuit. It is full wet conditions, blue walled tyres. We start from 22nd and last for the second race in a row this season. I fear 22nd might become our new norm after 19th was kind of our normal norm. But let's take a look at the grid before we have a little talk about what we're hoping for in this one. Lewis Hamilton took pole position once again ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Fernando Alonso in third with the other Mercedes, and Nico Rosberg in fourth. Vettel up there in fifth, looking to bounce back after his DNF in Australia. Button is in sixth, ahead of the Williams of Bottas. Hulkenberg in his Force India in eighth, ahead of Raikkonen's Ferrari and Magnussen's McLaren Mercedes. Massa in the Williams, down in 11th, ahead of Sergio Perez, and it's Sutil, Verne, Grosjean, Maldonado, and then those of us knocked out in Q1. Gutierrez, the other Caterham of Kamui Kobayashi, the two Marussias of Bianchi and Chilton, ahead of the Toro Rosso of Kvyat, and then I am at the back of the grid. Typical Malaysian weather, really. Soaking wet conditions, the rain is falling, and it's likely, I guess, to rain all the way through. Whether we'll move to an intermediate tyre as the race progresses, who knows, or whether we'll be on the blue tyre all the way through. Not actually driven this game in full wet conditions for the best part of a decade, probably since this game was new. That was our first real intermediate running in practice and qualifying, and you could see that, I mean, we weren't far off Kvyat, but fairly slow compared to everybody else, which is exactly what we were in Australia in the dry as well. This car is just slow, and the legendary AI on this game are much quicker. And that means we've got to fight even harder. I think the target has got to be just beat Marussia and beat Kobayashi. So much like the last race. It's going to be quite a low bar to clear, that bar being 18th position. See if we can maybe pick off a few more spots in the early stages. These conditions may also lead to some shenanigans, perhaps, and maybe we can pick off a few other spots, but it is going to be a tough race in what I can only assume to be tough conditions. Let's cross to the grid for the 2014 Malaysian Grand Prix. Hamilton on pole, Daniel Ricciardo next to him. There's Kobayashi, you can see us in the background, nobody behind us. No pep talk from engineer Andy as we get the third and fourth red lights, then the fifth. A longish hold, but away we go in Malaysia, and the start. Lots of wheel spin, everybody just struggling off the line to move out of the spray, and everybody now getting away from us down to turn one, but they're all going to concertina up, and we will try around the outside here. Gutierrez, there's Verne as well. We're still around the outside. We've had to arrest a bit of a slide, but we are, what are we now? Oh, I was going to say up to 15th, but we slipped back down to 17th. Make that 18th. Cannot see a thing in the spray, having to back off early to avoid an incident.
When you're overtaking, we don't want to lose places because of a penalty.
Much like turn one, try and go around the outside this time. Kind of pays off. They are struggling in these conditions. We're ahead of Maldonado. At least for now, he goes up the inside. We'll sweep back across the Lotus, and then the field is going to start to disappear, I think. Much like the last race. Gained a few spots early. Really struggling to get any power down in these conditions. A minute I thought we were going to be staring at the back end of the top 10 after turns 1 and 2. Thought I'd found a line, and then everybody just streamed past us as Maldonado is going to try and take a look. The Lotus behind into the final corner. When the first lap not last, P17.
Conditions are really poor. Everyone seems to be struggling for grip.
Again, we've got Maldonado challenging. He's aiming for the inside. Much like the last race in Australia. Kobayashi's there as well. I probably feel he should have the beating of us, but we hold them back for now, and now we've lost the gap, the gaggle of cars in front of us. Run wide into the penultimate corner. Bring Maldonado in. That corner has not been kind to me through pretty much the entire series. And move across the racing line. Hold off Maldonado. We've pulled away from the likes of Kobayashi. They seem to have fallen off the back of us. Just casually be 5 seconds a lap slower than the leaders.
We estimate Sauber will be bringing Suttel in soon, within the next 5 laps.
Fall behind Maldonado, clipped the bollard on the inside and speared us to the left, and now Maldonado's going to disappear away.
Some minor damage to his front wing, doesn't look too serious.
Yankee now the man behind us. Kobayashi's fallen way off the back. Whether he's got involved in an incident, I don't know, but we'll try and stick with Maldonado for a moment. Kobayashi, an absolute mile off the back of the pack. Something must be wrong with the other Caterham. It's fine by me, I guess, to a point. My teammate in the Mauritius is going to be the main aim this season, I think. Anyone else is a bonus. Gutierrez went to look to the inside. He blocked him off. Bianchi's trying to come with him. They're going to meet at the apex of the hairpin. Tyres are struggling a bit now. Hold them off. Hold on to P18 for now. Nothing position in terms of glory, but anything we can hold realistically in this car is a bonus. Get the penultimate corner all wrong again. Bianchi gets blocked by us. Gutierrez, though, is going to be fast enough to get by us, and we're once again on marginal fuel. We'll try going the outside of the Mexican driver, and we'll make it. We gain 18th.
We're 3 places above our expected result.
Gutierrez looks one way, then the other. A little bit of contact, and we'll break him into the hairpin.
You're faster in sector 2 than the car ahead.
Gutierrez
Sector
stays
2,
out.
go for the pass.
There's Chilton. Oh, she was getting lapped now by Rosberg, who's in the lead. Great fight in the pits between Caterham and Marussia here.
Go now.
Caterham win that round.
Remember to stay inside the white line or we'll get a penalty.
Decent outlap here, I think, to get back in front of Gutierrez and Chilton. Looks like Chilton and Gutierrez are in. All about if we can jump either of them. Looks like no, maybe not. Gutierrez is just heading out the box now. Well, just about regain 18th. Comes Gutierrez once again. Just into the inside. And break him into the hairpin. This is just another really tough race. We might, however, find ourselves lapping Kobayashi, such as his seeming absolute lack of
The car
pace.
behind is trying to save fuel.
We're wide at the penultimate corner. Gutierrez is going to go by. And we stay in the slipstream and try and get him back at the hairpin. Max Chilton has a think about it. We'll get to the inside first.
Maldonado is likely to pit within 5 laps.
We will go back in front of Gutierrez for now, but it's all about where he's going to go, and we're going to need to back the fuel off again as once again running a lap too short. How Gutierrez the outside Chilton gets through. This is Bianchi, I think. This car up the road for us is Kamui Kobayashi. 21 in this race. Somebody's dropped out. It's not Kamui Kobayashi, it's Valtteri Bottas. The Williams is out, so we'll take P17, at least for now, as we run a little wide. Gutierrez doesn't have a go. He has a look towards the hairpin, doesn't make it work. Past wherever Bottas ended his race. Get to the back of Kobayashi. I don't know why he's so slow here. He's well out the way. He's been lapped by the entire field. Gutierrez has got a bit of a run on us towards the hairpin.
Until we see an improvement in the weather, another 15 minutes.
We might move to an intermediate condition, but it's unlikely as we block out Gutierrez and leave him for the Marussians to fight with for a minute. Very wide at the penultimate corner, saved by the fact that the car behind us is a Mercedes. Blue flags in just a mo.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Yeah. Mercedes heads in. So as soon as Hamilton into the pits this lap, Rosberg will probably be on us in a moment.
The pit crew are ready for you at the end of this lap. Box this lap. We think the car car behind is
Okay,
running on 4
Rosberg.
revs. He's trying to close the gap.
Run wide through 2 to let him go by. He should have the pace to just
Blue
disappear
flag
past us.
conditions.
There he
Let
goes.
the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
I think he might have taken advantage of the lead cars and he's jumped Gutierrez.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Red Bull behind us now, that'll Daniel Ricciardo. Left, to let the Australian through. A second stop, I'd assume we're following Rosberg and Ricciardo in. Bianchi's in behind us as well. Gutierrez 2, so it might be that Chilton goes by. Yes, he does. Rosberg on his way out the pits. Ricciardo now 2. In we come. New set of wet tyres. Away we go. Gutierrez jumps Bianchi, but he won't jump us.
Watch out for traffic as you rejoin the track.
There are going to be leaders behind us here, I think.
Current reports are suggesting an improvement in the weather. Light rain expected in around 10 minutes.
Still the conditions improve. Whether it's going to affect this race, I don't think it will. I think they're in the pits now.
Chilton has entered the pits.
Starting to head out of his box, but not quick enough as we get lapped by the Ferrari there.
You're doing well. It's coming together for us. We're 4 places up on our predictions.
Alonso and then Red Bull of Vettel. Through they get too much in their way.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Jensen Button, Nico Hulkenberg should also go by. Spray else, you cannot see a thing. These two to pull us along for a moment.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Magnussen's turn to lap us. Wide to let the McLaren
It
through.
looks like the
There he
race
goes.
might ease up a little in the next 5 minutes.
I think it's still light to rain again. I don't think it's going to mean we're diving into the pits to get the intermediate tyres on.
There's 6 seconds between you and the car behind. Keep pushing. You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Raikkonen and Felipe Massa are back to lap us. So completing the top 10 as we just cross between the two of them. Trying to let Massa through on the outside of the hairpin, but we get in his way instead. But we stay tight on exit, the Williams should. Just breeze past us, there he goes. Right in the spray for a minute, just for a bit of slipstream from the superior Williams Mercedes.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Move offline, back off just a little bit. Sergio Perez goes through. Sit right in that spray just for a moment. Try and use the Force India to our advantage. The guys behind being lapped has given us just a little bit of a buffer at the moment. So maybe we can just pokes it home
We
now.
think the car behind is running on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
Looks like we're going to have the same. We're back with us for a couple of laps here. He's immediately trying to make a move. As long as we don't get blocked by a lead car again, but it doesn't look like we've got any leaders or anyone higher up the order closing on us anytime soon. Actually getting closer to putting 2 laps on Kamui, but I don't think that's going to happen. What's gone wrong with him? Here comes Gutierrez then as we head towards our final lap of this race. Only a lap down this time around. Block the Sabre off. I described a lot of 2013 as solid if unspectacular, but we were at least fighting for the likes of 12th, 13th, 14th, that kind of thing. At this point, after 2 rounds, 2014 is more solid if unspectacular, consistently 17th, just ahead of the Mauritius one other car and the other Caterham, but I say just ahead. We've put a lap on Kobayashi and we're on the cusp of putting 2 on him as Lewis Hamilton crosses the line to win in Malaysia. It's 2 out of 2 for Hamilton. Looking to reclaim the title he lost in our series from last season. Perfect way to start in the Mercedes. I'd assume it was Rosberg second, Ricciardo third. As Gutierrez looking left, looking right, trying his hardest to find a way past us. Are we going to get another lap on Kobayashi? I don't know if we will, you know. We're close enough for blue flags here. As Gutierrez going to look to the inside, will drift across to block him. He'll have to move to the outside. There's Kobayashi. He's going to move out the way for us before the end of the race. I think he might, you know, as Gutierrez is going to push for us, but we'll stay in front. Just about to take P17 and put 2 laps on our teammate right at the death. Another 17th place in the end from the back of the grid then, just ahead of Gutierrez, Bianchi and Chilton. Kobayashi 2 laps down on us, 3 laps down on Hamilton. He was some 2 seconds a lap nearly slower than our best. Don't know what happened to him early doors, but whatever it was, it didn't really aid his race. Bottas the only retirement in the Williams, not good for the Finn. At the top end of things, Lewis Hamilton took the victory by 4.7 from Nico Rosberg, so a lot closer than it looked. Ricciardo took 3rd ahead of Alonso, then Vettel, Button, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Raikkonen and Massa all scoring points. Sergio Perez outside the points in 11th and actually ended up quite close to Felipe Massa. Jean-Eric Vergne in 12th, Sutil 13th, Grosjean in 14th, Kvyat, who joined us on the back row start, ended 15th, and it's Maldonado 16th. He jumped us fairly early doors, and then us lot at the back. What does that mean for the stand-ins then? Lewis Hamilton leads by 14 points ahead of Nico Rosberg. Ricciardo maintains 3rd with 2 third places, 2 seconds for Rosberg and 2 firsts for Hamilton. Magnussen up in 4th, just 2 points clear of Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button. Perez is 7th. Vettel moves up to 8th after scoring his first points of the season. Hülkenberg is 9th. Bottas is in 10th. Raikkonen jumps ahead of the man he replaced at Ferrari, Massa, after his first points in the season, which means that 12 have scored so far. Kvyat is 13th, Verne is 14th, Maldonado is in 15th, and it's Sutil, Grosjean, Gutierrez. We slip to P19 in the standings thanks to Vettel and Raikkonen scoring, but we remain ahead of Chilton, Bianchi, and Kobayashi. And in the constructors, Mercedes lead Red Bull by 46 points and is 10 further back to McLaren and a further 10 back to Force India. Ferrari are 5th with 16 points, 6 clear of Williams, and only the top 6 teams have scored points this season. Toro Rosso, though, by virtue of their best finish being 11th, are ahead of Lotus, Sauber. We remain 10th, Marussia in 11th. And that's 2 races down in 2014, and they have looked fairly steady going. This car not really quick enough to be fighting with anyone, really, other than the Marussias and maybe the odd Sauber. That suggests it's going to be quite the long season. Australia wasn't just a blip. Malaysia, though, in the wet, we did okay. Started on the back row at the back once again, but came away 2 laps clear of Kobayashi, just ahead of Gutierrez, Chilton and Bianchi, maintaining our record of beating our fellow backmarker competitors. Maybe not all of them, as Sutil was quite a distance up the order, but we're still at least beat a Sauber and the 2 Marussias. So, silver linings to take from that race. Next up, we head to the deserts of Bahrain, where we had our pre-season race, which made it look like we were going to have a decent time, as we were running in 14th, I think, at one point in that race, and actually didn't look too bad. That, though, was in single race mode. In Korea, this car seems mighty slow compared to its rivals. So maybe that 1 point from 2013 will still not be our worst come season's end. But we'll see. There's still a long way to go in this one. Thank you so much for joining me for Malaysia. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'll see you for the next one at Sakia. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.